Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni muliwanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jadley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We're so delighted that you are joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Thank you so very much for subscribing to the show in the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Janet Hoffman. She is here to celebrate her wonderful picture book called Caterpillar Surprise. Before we invite Janet into the studio, we want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by The Power of Gratitude, Unlocking Hidden Treasures by Ruth Maylie. This book is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. We love this book. The messages are phenomenal. It's a great way. The Power of Gratitude, Unlocking Hidden Treasures is a great way to remind your kids just how blessed they are. Your kids are going to learn how to appreciate what they have and help those who are less fortunate by increasing their sense of gratitude. They'll begin to appreciate what others do for them. They're going to begin to appreciate the fact that they have a chance to do for others. They'll feel more positive emotions. They'll cherish their great experiences. Living gratefully will actually help improve their health and relationships. You're going to love this book. We love it. It's a certified great read. It's The Power of Gratitude, Unlocking Hidden Treasures by Ruth Maylie. Join us right now from the beautiful state of Wisconsin, where it's already snowing. Our guest today is here to celebrate her latest children's picture book. It's called The Caterpillar Surprise. Please welcome to the show, Janet Halfmann. Hey, Janet, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm so excited that you are part of the podcast. Tell us about The Caterpillar Surprise, please.
Well, it just released about a week ago from Black Rose Writing, and the illustrator is from Minnesota, Emily Kruger, and she did a fantastic job. And the story is that there's this baby caterpillar, and she sees a poster about a masquerade ball, and she really wants to win the blue ribbon, but she thinks because she's just a baby, she doesn't have a chance. And then a tadpole in the nearby pond hears her sort of whirring out loud. And he convinces her that, she looks like bird poo when she's a baby, because that's how tiger swallowtail caterpillars look like. They look like bird poo. It's a defense mechanism, so the birds won't eat the caterpillar. So anyway, then she's all excited again. Yeah, she thinks now she really has a chance. But then as she keeps shedding her skin and growing, and then eventually she turns completely green. And so now she thinks, no, all caterpillars almost are green, so I don't stand a chance. But then she has this defense mechanism where she can look like a snake when something attacks. And so the tadpole again convinces her, well, that's great. But then when it's almost time for the ball, she feels, like she needs a rest. So it's time to spin her chrysalis. And she's worried she's going to, sleep right through the ball. But her friend Tadpole says, I'll wake you up. Don't worry, I'll wake you up. But when the time comes, he can't wake her up. So finally he goes to the ball and tries to he's going to win the ribbon for her. And then she does, just at the last minute, wakes up in time, flies off to the ball, and then there's all kinds of other surprises that happen at the ball. And so you'll have to read the book to see what all of those are.
That's wonderful. We love books that can be read in many times, because picture books are read many, many times by their families. And we especially love books that can be read in completely different ways. Every time you read the book, you can talk about something new, talk about the story. This, in Caterpillar's Surprise, it's a wonderful way to talk about STEM and science and just getting kids curious about nature and getting them interested in the sciences.
That's for sure. And I love those kind of books too. And a lot of the picture books that I write are those kind of stories, because I'm fascinated by that also.
It really is fascinating, the world that we live in. And it's so wonderful for us when we have an opportunity to point out to our kids what we find fascinating. Because, when you're a kid, when you're 2, 3, 4 years old, everything is new to you. So it's like, you have a new surprise every single day. But I think the kids really love it when they can see what surprises us and what fascinates us.
They do. We have 3 pretty young grandkids, and we also have some older grandkids, but some young ones, and they their neighbor actually raises monarch caterpillars, and so they've actually got the caterpillar in their hand, and then sometimes she'll release them when I happen to be over at their house, and we'll see them flying through the backyard, and so. It is just amazing, and I can share all those things with those young grandkids, just like I did with our older grandkids. And I wasn't writing picture books when our kids were young, so this is really nice that I have. And they're such an inspiration. I find so many story ideas from my grandkids.
Yeah, well, it's just. I think, and I'm looking forward if my beautiful wife and I are ever blessed with grandkids. I think you get to look at the world in a different way. When we're parents and, we're kind of looking through the eyes of our kids, but we're so worried and so preoccupied about making sure we're the best parent we can be and keeping them safe and helping them grow and teaching them. And, of course, that's something that grandparents are concerned about as well, but it's not our top priority. As a grandparent, I think we get a chance to be more like our grandkids and see the world through their eyes in a little bit different way.
I certainly agree with that. Yes, you can take the time to have more fun, it seems. You have more time, so that helps,
I like that. I think that's something we should all try to do. Take the time to have more fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
That would be great.
So what inspired you to start writing children's books at this stage in your life?
Well, actually, my dream was to be a children's book author ever since I was in my 20s. And it sort of started when our kids were born. And I was reading a lot of picture books to them, and we were going to the library. And I just loved picture books. And I never had really very many books as a child. We just didn't have them. I grew up on a farm in Michigan. And we just didn't have very many books. So I just fell in love with it. I tried to start a career writing for children. And I sold some articles to like Ranger Rick, which is still around, Ranger Rick magazine. But I couldn't make enough. I really needed to also contribute to the family's income at some point. And so I couldn't make enough money and break in, So I went other routes. I was a newspaper reporter. Our whole family moved to Kansas, and I was a newspaper reporter. Then we moved to Wisconsin because a publisher here was starting a magazine for kids who live on farms and ranches, and I became the managing editor of that. And that didn't last too long because we couldn't get the circulation up high enough. But then I went to Golden Books, which had their color and activity division here in Wisconsin. And I was there for 12 years creating color and activity books on all kinds of things, like the Sesame Street characters and all the Disney movies and all of those things. It was great. I probably actually would have stayed there until the end of my career, but we got a new owner. He moved the whole company to New York City. We all lost our jobs here. And that's when I thought, I was in my 50s then. I thought, I'm going to try to fulfill my dream, so I did. I started out doing work for hire, doing books for educational publishers. And I did a lot of articles for magazines, and enough to keep enough money so that I could, and then when I had free time, I would do my own projects. And finally, one of those, a publisher bought one of those. It was called Little Skink's Tale in 2007. And that was sort of the start of my real children's book career. And then when I was pretty stable and I was older and didn't have to make as much money, now I just do books that I want to do, that I am interested in doing. No more work for hire. So
wow, what a fascinating career you've had.
It has been wonderful. I've met so many wonderful people and got to do so many things. Like as a reporter, I got to meet Ricky Nelson, one of my idols, and things like that.
That really is. It's certainly one of the benefits of being a podcast host. I've had an opportunity to speak with so many fascinating authors like yourself, and it's been so much fun.
It is. And that's great too. Now as a writer, all the writers that you meet, I belong to the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and just all the wonderful people you meet, at conferences, the editors and agents and people that come in from all over the country. And right now, SCBWI has been doing their conferences online, their national conferences. And that's really great because, even if you couldn't afford to go to Los Angeles or New York for those conferences, now you can take part and just meet so many wonderful people.
Yeah. Well, I want to take a chance, take the opportunity that you're here on the podcast to ask you about a book that we've actually been helping you celebrate through our monthly promotion program, and it's the Clothesline Code, the story of Civil War spies Lucy Ann and Dabney Walker. Can you tell us a little bit about the Clothesline Code, please?
Yes, that's another kind of book I really like to write, a story that has been lost to history. And I've written a few of those picture books like that. And I actually found out about this story quite a long time ago when I was researching one of the other books that I wrote. And it was, and I saw this story about, they thought that a Civil War officer had written this account of a husband and wife who were formerly enslaved, and then they escaped to the Union camp in Northern Virginia. And they came up with a code using the Longiana clothesline because the wife was a laundress for the Union Army there in Virginia. And Dabney actually was he was working as both a cook for the Union, and also he was a great scout for the Union Army because he knew the vicinity so well. And so he was a scout for the cavalry when they went out to try to find out where the Confederates were, where they were storing their ammunition and things like that. And when I found this story, I was just so fascinated by it right away. But even the people that were repeating this story said that they thought it was just a legend, that it was just a story. And so I couldn't get back to it for quite a few years, but then I finally did. And I was able to find out that it indeed was true. I found the petition that Dabney Walker made to Congress because after the war was over, he felt that he should have been paid more. So he made a petition to Congress. So there are all kinds of sources in there about who he worked for and what he did. And he worked also doing surveying for this captain that was in the Union, and he also worked with him in New York doing surveying. And I found out that it was Captain Payne, and I found out that he had his diaries at the New York Historical Society. And so I was hoping that, I thought, well, it's likely since they work so closely together that he mentions Dabney, because I forgot to mention in the early article, they said Dabney, but they didn't mention his last name. And they didn't mention his wife's name. So first I had to find a last name. And I found newspaper stories at the time who talked about it. And these captains that he worked with, these officers that he worked with, when they would give interviews to the newspapers, they mentioned this clothesline code and this couple. And one of them mentioned his last name was Walker.
Wow.
And so that way I could go to Ancestry and all that, But anyway, at the New York Historical Society, it turned out my son was going to have to go to New York on for his work. And so he offered to go through those diaries for me. And we indeed did find mentions of the Clothesline Code and Dabney Walker. So we knew for sure this story was true. And so so it's the first time that this story's ever been told in a book.
Wow.
And I'm just so hoping, I'm doing my best to try to get kids in the United States and everywhere learn about this important couple who, they took such a great risk, because the wife had to go back after they came up with the code. The wife went back into Confederate territory and got a job at General Lee's headquarters so that she could listen to what they were saying and what they were planning. And then she would send the messages with the laundry back to Dabney, who was watching with his binoculars on the other side of the river, because the two camps, the Confederates and Union, were right across the Rappahannock River in Virginia from one another. So this is one of those stories that is really, really dear to my heart.
Wow. Talk about courage. That is really a story of a really incredibly courageous woman and couple to go right into the home of the enemy and send out messages. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any idea what kind of blue underwear meant that the ammunition's over here underneath the oak tree, or?
Yeah, what they did is before she left, they planned it all. So each unit of the Confederate Army, they assigned a different color shirt. And then depending on how they moved those shirts on the wash line, would determine. And they also had a way for telling if the Confederates were trying to trick them. She would pin the blankets at the bottom with a clothespin. And so that meant that, because at one time, Dabney looked through his glasses and it looked like there was a lot happening, but he could tell that what was happening was not real. They were just pretending that they were moving their troops. And she had put this clothespin on the blankets at the bottom. So it was amazing how they could work out such a unique code and remember all that, so that had to be, hard to do.
Yeah.
And very ingenious.
Yeah. It really is ingenious and elaborate, and absolutely a story that needs to be told and celebrated. So we're really happy we had a chance to do that with you.
Yes, I'm happy you could too.
Yeah. So what's next from Janet Hoffman? Do you have another book that's in the work that we can look forward to?
I do. I have 2 more books that are coming out probably next year. One is about, it's called How Can We Be Kind? And it's from Quarto Publishing. And it's how can we be kind by looking at animals. Oh. So I found all the different ways that animals are empathetic with one another, like elephants. A lot of times if they're, when they're walking, if there's an elephant in the group who maybe has a leg that was hurt when they were young or something, the elephants will slow down every now and then and check, is that elephant still with them, things like that. So it looks at all these different empathetic ways that animals are to each other. So kids can, see that animals are a lot like people, and there are ways to mirror them, that you can find ways to be kind.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful, wonderful book. And you've had other books come out in 2021. It's been a very prolific time for you.
Yes, it has. That's very unusual. I mean, I'm usually very happy one a year. I mean, there are years we don't have any. So it just so happened that they all sort of came together. So I had Who is Singing, which is a celebration of birds and their songs. So it like the cardinal sort of sounds like when you hear a cardinal, it sort of sounds like week, 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 birdie, birdie, bird. And so I did those for, I think 12 different books in the book. Yeah. Birds in the book. And, so kids can, when they hear those sounds, something like that, they might know what bird that is. It makes it easier to recognize. And everybody hears birds differently, of course. So they can even make, when they hear birds, they can start making up how do they think that sounds. So it's a celebration of birds, basically. Yeah. And let's see, the other one is Yay for Big Brothers. And that's also spotlights animals. As you can see, I'm quite the nature person here. And when our grandson was a toddler, I was staying with him for a few days, and I could see that being a big brother was not always easy. So I thought that big brothers needed a book that celebrated them. Mm-hmm. And that's what this book does. It shows all the different ways that in families where the big brother is still in the family, lots of times they're off already, in animals, they grow up so fast, but in many animals that live in groups, the big brother or big sister is still around, when the baby's born. And so it shows, actual relationships. I made sure I found actual things between different animals. Like it features a lot of different animals, wolves and tamarins and various animals.
Awesome. When you were talking about your bird song book, I remembered back to a camping trip. I took a bike ride by myself throughout the maritime provinces of Canada. And I was camping by myself alongside a lake in Kitchenkumik National Park in Nova Scotia. And at night, I heard my first loon, and I had no idea what it was, and it absolutely terrified me. I thought there was some really needy person in the woods beside me screaming.
So now you always know when you hear that sound.
Absolutely. Yeah. Jenna, tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Caterpillar Surprise and the Clothesline Code and all the great work that's coming from your desk.
Okay, my website is Janet Hoffman Author, just my name and author.com. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, we've had a great time speaking to the author of Caterpillar Surprise, Janet Hoffman. Janet, thank you so very much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Anthony DiStefano. He'll be here to celebrate Joseph Donkey, a beautiful new Christmas classic. You don't want to miss it. Hey, we don't want you to miss a thing. We have so many wonderful guests coming on the show. December 20th, we have a special Kwanzaa episode starring Donna Washington. You absolutely don't want to miss it. And on Christmas Day, we have a brand new original story that will debut on Reading with Your Kids podcast. So the best way to make sure that you don't miss anything, number one, please subscribe to the show wherever you find your podcast. Some of our favorite podcasting platforms and apps, of course, are the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Ghana, Himalaya, Google Podcasts. You can also connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, at Jedley Magic on Twitter. We have an Reading With Your Kids page on Pinterest that we want you to check out. And of course, you can go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. You can use the contact button to let us know if there are any suggestions you want for the podcast, or just give us some feedback or just say hi. You can also sign up for our free newsletter. It's really great, has some great information. And if you're an author, be sure to click the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page to find out how you can be a guest on the podcast, to find out about our Certified Great Read program, and to find out how we can help you celebrate your book through commercials on the podcast, messages to our 60,000 plus social media followers, and to have your book displayed on our nationwide network of digital pedestrian billboards. Find it all at readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to thank our guest, Janet Hoffman. Please be sure to check out the Caterpillar Surprise. Also want to thank our sponsor, Ruth Maylie, The Power of Gratitude, Unlocking Hidden Treasures. I want to thank my team, Alejandro Garrity, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.